What's up, everybody? Welcome to us another Wednesday afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk Network. We're going to be talking about The Nice Guys, the brand new Shane Black, Ryan Gosling, and Russell Crowe vehicle. It was amazing. One of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. Hang out with us. We're going to talk about the whole thing, break it down to all our fun games. I'm here with Andrew Ghai. We'll see you guys in just a second.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Boom, 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 boom. Do you guys know this song? This is Lonely Boy by Andrew Gold. This plays in the film The Nice Guys, and we're talking about The Nice Guys today on the show right now. I love this song. If you guys don't know Lonely Boy, you need to stop your life and go listen to it right now, or just watch Andrew dance.
That's what I said. I mean, that's how I dance. What's up, everybody? This fucking movie is the only way I can put it.
Yeah.
Was so phenomenal.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Just one of the absolute best movies I've seen in a long time.
One of the best. It's amazing. We did Drive last week. We're doing this week. It's like two of the best movies we've ever done on the show.
Yeah.
And
they're so different.
Yeah. This is like not a good movie in the way that like The Rock is a good movie. This is not a good movie in the way that Drive is a good movie. It's a totally different animal. This is probably this is closer to what people probably felt like when they watched Lethal Weapon for the first time.
Yeah.
Probably closer.
Probably back in the day, for sure.
Because it's Shane Black. I mean, it totally makes sense. Anyway, guys, we should get without just ranting. This is Action Movie Anatomy. We talk about action movies on this show. The Nice Guys isn't an action movie, but it kind of feels like one to us because it's Shane Black, and Shane Black's an action movie guy, and we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we skip this movie in our genre.
It's our boy.
Yeah, because we don't do superhero movies. We do movies that feel like they're that 80s, 90s action genre.
Right.
And Lethal Weapon and they're parallel, so this movie belongs on our show.
It is literally like Lethal Weapon 30 years later.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a retelling. So this is Action Movie Anatomy. We talk about action movies on the show. This is the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies and all things movie related. And my name is Ben Bateman. I'm your host, and this right here, this fine gentleman, is Andrew Ghai.
What's up, everybody? Happy to be here. So excited to talk about this movie. Got a tie clip on.
Yeah. I didn't reference it. I usually do.
I know. That's why I had to say something.
Yeah, say something. We have 4 basic rules that our action movies on the show adhere to. I don't know if this one's going to fit. The 4 basic rules, aside from the movies being made after 1981, which is loose anyway, is that, number 1, the hero always plays by his own rules. By their own rules. And, yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's like with the buddy cop thing.
Yeah.
They're kind of a hybrid. They do play by their own rules.
I mean, they both have their ways of going about things. Crowe is like a real detective, and Ryan Gosling is an alcoholic that falls into like perfect circumstance. But they do the things their own way.
The dream sequence I just was remembering. The ankle holster is so good.
It's pretty sweet, right?
Yeah. Sweet, right? Yeah. He goes for it later. So rule number 1, the hero always plays by their own rules. Rule number 2, the hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, things, dinosaurs, Martians, aliens in the room. There is no villain in this movie that's the smartest. Because
yeah, I mean, it's technically Kim Basinger. Basinger.
But the villain in this movie is like corporate America and greed.
Corporation, man.
Yeah, exactly. So like, kind of, and then the heroes, like, they're like a tandem, the smartest.
Yeah. Like, they're the smartest and the dumbest people in the room.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. Rule number 3, the movie is driven by a police, military, political, or mercenary figure. I mean, yeah, it hits. He's a PI.
They're hired. Yeah. They're hired guys, yeah.
And rule number 4, there's at least one explosion. There was definitely an explosion. So this
was.
movie... Yeah. So this movie almost hits it. We normally do movies that are more like, The Rock, or like Con Air, or like... Point Break or something.
Or any of the other 53 episodes we've done. Those type of movies.
Yeah, exactly. And if you guys don't know the catalog, go check it out. We've got 54 or something like that.
This is 54, yeah.
We've done a year's worth of movies on this show. They're all available on iTunes to be downloaded. You can leave comments with your thoughts on the movies. We did a best of year 1 episode like 2 weeks ago. So if you guys, if you actually want to know what we do and like which are the ones you should definitely watch that are the funniest.
If you want to see how much I can sweat when I'm freaking out and it's hot outside, then just check out the best of.
The best of year 1 episode is very funny. It's enjoyable, and it'll surprise you some of the higher rated episodes for us. But we're approaching 6 million views on the show total in a year, so it's been a fun year, and this is the first straight up comedy that we're just calling an action movie that we've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, we it's interesting on this show because when we do a movie that's brand new, we go into it obviously not knowing what to expect. And in this movie, we knew it wasn't going to be a straight up action movie like a movie we typically do. But we definitely thought it was going to be more action oriented or have a little bit more of that tone of those action movies that we do.
It had like the fighting that action movies have. It had it like, in the climax.
Right. But again, this movie though, it celebrates our favorite thing about all of our best action movies. Without having like the tension or the stakes, it celebrates the moments in between the action. It celebrates the relationship between the characters and the villains and the accomplices, and it totally belongs on our show because I want to talk about it. That's it. That's why.
And it's Shane Black.
It's Shane Black.
So we'll get into that in just a second, sort of who Shane Black is and what his place in the pantheon of action movies actually is and why we chose to do this movie. But we should start the show off by remembering that we have a thesis statement.
We do, but we should watch our trailer.
Yes, we should watch the trailer first. Thesis statement exists.
Thesis statement exists.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, we got the Red Band trailer, so careful.
highly inappropriate.
Highly inappropriate for work.
This is a family network, gentlemen.
Right.
Equanimity, quality of being calm.
Who is it?
Messenger service.
It's just even drunk and disheveled. I love it.
March, we're gonna play a game. I think you have the wrong house. It's called Shut Up Unless You're Me. I love that game.
All right, you're a
private investigator.
Just $20 in there, all right? Just take it.
No, not here for that. I'm messenger. Give me your left arm.
No.
Yeah, come on.
No!
When you're talking to your doctor, tell him you have a spiral fracture.
No!
Deep breath.
Gosling is gold in this. They both are so
Solid
good.
gold. Yeah.
If you got
Comic
trouble with
genius.
someone, you might ask around for me, Jackson Healy.
I work for the Department of Justice. My daughter, Amelia.
It's the classic straight man, crazy man, except for Gosling tries to be a straight man as the crazy man.
Yeah, totally.
Which is why it's so funny.
March.
Donica, is it hot in here? I know you're not in here with me, but I'm hot, man. I'm fucking
How
cooking.
stupid do you think I am? I got a license to
Hey,
carry,
well,
dumbass. And ever since
already
your
blew a little
visit
bit
to
going
Silver
on.
I'll take a look.
They were right here.
Great moment. Look away. Look away.
Just look at me. Just look. You know there's a mirror here.
See, you're pretty good at this. I want you to find Amelia.
I would have thought your job ended with breaking my fucking arm.
The guy who beat up my dad.
Hey, sucker punched your dad. Big difference.
This movie's so good.
She's got dark hair. Name's Amelia.
What's in it for me?
She'll stop doing it.
Doing what?
Fuck! Dad?
Dad, there's like whores here and stuff.
Sweetheart, how many times have I told you, don't say and stuff. Just say, Dad, there are whores here.
The mob is trying to spread its operation to Los Angeles. Somehow, Amelia is involved.
One thing we know for sure, something funny's going on.
I like that they go up to the floor and they leave. They just don't even. It's one of my favorite things about this movie. Another one of the things I love so much about this movie is that. Yeah, this scene's so great. Yeah. The story.
The world's worst.
Felt like I mattered.
The world's worst.
March! Gun! Fuck! Shit!
Present in the window. Oh man.
That moment with Nixon was great.
Yeah.
Look at the bright side. Nobody got hurt.
People got hurt.
I'm saying I think they died quickly, though, so I don't think that they got hurt.
Drinking
At least you're
again.
drinking again.
That's good. So great.
I loved that movie.
So good. And like, it's not one of those moments where they give away all the funny part. Like, we were laughing pretty hard in the trailer. We were laughing for 2 hours straight.
Solid.
It's so good.
Perfect. So, next thing we do on the show is something called thesis statement. Sometimes we do action movie tagline, but because this movie's a comedy, it's less fun to do a funny tagline for it. It also just came out, so like that's not a thing. So we're gonna do thesis statement, and thesis statement is that part of the show where something you have sort of a big, bold thought about this movie, something that is a rooted in hyperbole, or it's a bold thought. It's something interesting that you kind of want to stick with, and we share them. We kind of defend them throughout the episode, and I actually already shared mine, which
Did
is
you?
that. Yeah, this movie is Lethal Weapon 30 years later.
Oh, it's a great one.
I mean, that's what this movie is. This is instead of making Lethal Weapon into a TV show or rebooting the franchise, don't bother. Make Nice Guys.
Just do this.
It's better.
It's so much better.
I mean, at the time, Lethal Weapon, I'm sure, like, it is more of an action movie than this.
And it's like a little darker.
Yeah.
But like in a more depressing way. Because this movie definitely has like gnarly parts to it and like a darkness about it. But it's all covered in this like layer of humor.
Yeah.
Whereas like Lethal Weapon, he's like wants to kill himself the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what this movie is, and so it's really special for us as a younger generation who grew up and we watched Lethal Weapon, and you know, when we did it on the show, we found that aside from Officer Murtaugh, don't be foolish, look at the hardware. Aside from that line by Busey, which is solid gold,
It is amazing.
a lot of that movie had aged pretty poorly.
Yeah.
This movie, the other funny thing is that this is the same movie as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Like, it's not in the sense that like it's 10 years later, the characters are a little different, like. Downey Jr. is great, but he's doing his Downey Jr. thing.
Right.
So it's like when you watch it, you have to be in or out on that. This movie felt better and funnier to me. Like it's just like laugh out loud the whole time.
I mean, this movie is the perfect action comedy for our show because there was no action comedy that we had ever talked about before that could have really been on our show because our favorites are like MacGruber and you know the other guys and they're movies that don't really fit. You know, this movie is so perfect for
It's
our
Shane
show.
Black. I mean, that's what it is.
And for you guys that don't know Shane Black, we will get into him, and you should get to know him. He's going to do Predator soon.
Yeah, he was in the original Predator. He wrote the original Predator.
He did. I believe so. Yeah. So
Hawkins.
my thesis is that this is the greatest example of two leading men who are used to everything being about them, making fun of themselves and taking a back seat.
Yeah.
And it works so perfectly having these two guys do this.
It's funny that the trailer, it looks like it's Crowe's movie in the trailer.
It does.
It's not though.
It's not at all.
Yeah, it's really not. It's totally a buddy cop movie.
What's the opening scene? What happens
in the movie?
Yeah.
The movie starts with the Misty Meadows.
Right. Oh,
car
yeah.
crashing.
And then it goes into Healy doing stuff.
And you meet
right?
Crowe, and then you meet Gosling.
Yeah. Because Phil, one of the head producers here, was saying he just loved the opening scene so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's mine. Is that this is the greatest example of two leading men taking a back seat and making fun of themselves, and it working perfectly.
That you've ever seen.
Ever that I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, they're two. I mean, Russell Crowe's a freaking Oscar winner, and Ryan Gosling is an Oscar nominee.
Yeah, Russell Crowe's an Oscar winner who's kind of a prick that takes himself way too seriously.
Yeah, right, exactly. This is a great, and I love that he got fat. Like
he's so fat.
He just got really big for this.
Like really fat and really disheveled, and just like it looks like he doesn't ever want to do anything.
So we're gonna talk about fist pump. It's a great picture. So let's talk a little bit of fist pump moment. Fist pump moment is that moment in the movie when you're watching it and something happens and you have a literal just like, fuck yes, this is so awesome. And you look around and you want to like high five your buddy. You want to get somebody. You want to call your friend and be like, turn this on. You got to see this right now.
Yeah, you want to like lean over to the person next to you in the theater and be like, did you see that?
Yeah,
did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, usually when it's an action movie,
he's like, don't touch me, don't talk to me.
Usually when it's an action movie, we're like, are you seeing this right now?
Yeah.
But like with something like this where it's comedy, it's much more like you just like want to high five your buddy. And so for me, my fist pump moment in this movie. It's a hard toss-up between when we meet both of the characters. Yeah. But I love Gosling in the bathtub, and he looks at his hand, and it just has written, "You will never be happy." It's just beautiful.
He's like wakes up in a bathtub, like in his suit. It's filled with water, and there's like a bottle of booze next to it, and that's all that it's. Oh God, it's beautiful. My fist pump moment is also Gosling, and it's when so in the very beginning of the movie, when you're still getting introduced to him, he goes into the bar. There's like this gigantic like black bartender there, right? And he like tries to like talk to him, and like he makes him a little. The guy's counting money, right? And Gosling's like trying to get information out of him. He won't do it. And he walks up this little like shirt that he made out of a $5 bill.
I think I was like, "Is that a shirt?" I made it myself.
He's like, I made it myself. And then it just cuts to him, the guy locking up, and Gosling like waiting. He's like, in this PI business, things aren't always as easy as you think. So you got to get clever. So he like goes up to the back door, and there's like a little window. He's gonna break it, and he like he wraps his hand up so he doesn't cut it, and he like goes to punch it, and the thing pops up. So like he fixes it real quick, and then he goes and he punches.
But he's holding his hand. He's holding his hand. He's like he moves his hand with the other hand,
punches it, and and he just slices his wrist,
like bleeds everywhere.
like suicide status, and he's like, oh god,
It's a lot of blood.
Oh, it's a lot of blood, and then he goes to the hospital.
Brilliant.
But like Ben and I, we were literally laughing for like a minute straight when that happened.
Just dying. Just dying.
God, I'm like hot and like laughing, and
I just want to watch it again.
me too.
Because laughing that hard is just so much fun.
It doesn't happen. It's so rare that it happens when you watch something that's that funny.
Because it's smart funny is the reason.
And it's smart funny, and the pace is well, and it's acted brilliantly.
Yeah, and like it's great because remember the whole stretch of Will Ferrell comedies that came out after he had peaked, like when he was still.
So we're talking like after Step Brothers, or Step Brothers is one of them?
Step Brothers is a good one. I'm talking about the stretch of movies like Semi-Pro,
Right. So right after
Land
Step
of the
Brothers.
Lost.
Yeah.
There's the whole. It's like 10 years almost worth of movies that have now come out, and he's made like 1 or 2 good ones in there, I think. But for the most part, they're like dumb comedies that are just stupid. Like you watch them. I think The Campaign was in there. That movie was okay. Like I love Will Ferrell. He's like next to Chris Farley is my favorite funny person of all time.
He's a genius.
But like it's that sort of thing where you're watching and it just isn't that satisfying. It's like the jokes fall flat. A lot of them. Okay, like Get Hard was appallingly bad.
Right.
Get Hard was unwatchable. Like it's just all dumb. It's all slapstick. The jokes are cheap. The jokes are easy. And it's extremely disappointing when the jokes don't hit.
And and they don't hit because it's like in this movie, they focus so much on what's important in comedy. It's like you don't move on, you're funny. You don't lead your audience by like kind of like giving them like, I'm about to tell a joke. Like it's just clean joke after clean joke, perfectly executed by 2 people that aren't trying to be funny.
And how great was the little girl?
She's phenomenal.
Fantastic.
I'm always worried when there's a kid in a movie.
Yeah.
Especially like a prominent role. Because
Yeah.
it's very rare that it's done great.
Yeah.
And she's great.
She's fantastic.
I mean, my sequel is actually based around her a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yes, those are our fist pump moments. There's a great fist pump moment. I love the one that you just shared. And what do you got, people?
No, I was just thinking about that moment again.
We are going to get into some of the other things. We're going to do spin-off. In fact, shall we do spin-off now?
Should we do spin-off now?
Sure.
Let's do it.
So this is something we've only done once or twice. It's either called the spin-off or the sequel. In this case, we're going to call it the sequel. This is a brand new one. So this is just sort of us, and we're going to be pitching in 60 seconds the idea of a sequel. Donica, do we have a timer we can use? A sound or something?
Yeah, I can get you 1 sec.
Cool. Would you like to go first? Would you like me to go first?
I can go first. Mine's great. It's very concise.
Are you still looking for the timer? Because we can rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper,
Paper
scissors.
them scissors.
Paper, damn scissors.
Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Ready? Are we going to go rock, paper, scissors, shoot?
No,
Or
you're
rock,
just
paper,
on the-
scissors.
on the
Okay,
three.
See, that's
On
why
the
you're
three.
my best friend. All right, here we go. 1,
Rock,
2,
paper,
3. Rock, paper, scissors. All right, you win.
Money. Shit. I don't even know if I won.
I think you did because you got rock and I had scissors.
I realize I won that, but I'm not sure what that means.
I don't either. All right, you're going first. That's what it means.
We ready, Donica?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
All right. So, 3, 2, 1, boom! They're already talking about making the sequel. We're gonna set it in the 80s. It's the same movie. They already made it. It's called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and then they made it again, and it was called The Nice Guys. You make The Nice Guys 2. It's set 10 years later. Crowe's fatter. Gosling is the same. The girl's a little older. You can recast her. You just another caper. Honestly, if you were to be like, hey, can you pitch me like a caper noir story? I'd be like, I don't know, any noir story that's ever happened. They're all exactly the same. Like it doesn't matter. Like there's a big reveal at the end. If it's anywhere near as funny as this, all you need to do is put those 2 guys back in. I think you probably do have to throw in 1 or 2 other characters,
right?
Like other great actors to make this awesome. Like I wouldn't mind seeing like Tom Hardy show up in a comical role.
Oh, that'd be great.
Or like Chris Pine or some other person like that. Or even like some comic actors like Isla Fisher or somebody like that. Or Anna Faris. But yeah, the point is, I think that's all you need. I don't think there is anything else to the sequel. I'm not going to pitch like a crazy elaborate plot because that's the whole deal.
All right.
That's my pitch.
Wow, I didn't even take the whole time.
There you go. All right. Ready for mine?
Yep.
Yeah,
In 3, 2, go.
All right, so it's really easy. You just set it. No, I'm just joking. Mine's actually basically the same thing as yours. So we're gonna set it like 5 or 6 years later. Like we're talking like early 80s. Holly's a little bit older, and she has got a boyfriend. The boyfriend's played by Taron Egerton.
Oh.
And Taron Egerton's big into Studio 54 and the club scene and cocaine.
Oh.
Because we all know about coke in the 80s. So Christoph Waltz, the owner of the club and the kingpin.
Whoa.
pulls Taron Egerton under his wing, and he gets in trouble. He kidnaps Holly because he goes out of money. Like, Taron doesn't have enough money to pay off Christoph Waltz, so he kidnaps Holly. So who comes to the rescue?
Of course.
Papa Bear and Mr. Nice Guy, Jack Healy. So Crowe is definitely fatter. Gosling is, of course, the same. And imagine just those two and Christoph Waltz with Taron Egerton in there. They're the comic duo.
I like all of it except for Taron Egerton.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I think he'd be good at being kind of a fuck.
Yeah.
Like the dumb kid that got into
Sure.
coke, but also good enough to love Holly.
Yeah.
So that's mine. Studio 54 base, Christoph Waltz, Taron Egerton, Crowe, and Gosling reprise their roles.
It's a hell of a lot more elaborate than mine. I like it. I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
I like where your head's at. That is called the sequel, guys. In the chat, in the comments, you guys can let us know who you think has the better idea. Andrew's is more developed, but
Most importantly, Russell Crowe needs to be a lot fatter.
yeah, he needs to gain a solid 20 to 30 or 100 more pounds. I'm not even really sure if it was intentional for the role or if he just was.
Right, if he was just that fat already and he's like, fuck it, I'll go out.
I mean, at this point, Russell Crowe is probably looking at his life and he's like, all right, you know what? I won an Oscar. I did the thing where I made like 4 movies in 5 years that got nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
He did, right?
Yep, and he got nominated for Best Actor again immediately.
Yeah, right. I mean, he got the nomination for The Insider. He got a nomination for LA Confidential. That's 97
Yep.
and 99.
Gladiator and
Gladiator's 2000.
Beautiful Mind.
Beautiful Mind's 2001.
Yep.
And then I think his next 3 that he was gunning for, which were Master and Commander and Cinderella Man, I think he
Right.
missed on both of those.
Cinderella Man, he might have gotten a nod in some, like, might not have been Oscar, might have been Golden Globes, but I think he got something
For that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, later, and then he started to get out of it, right? American Gangster and all
Might
that
as well
stuff.
just talk about star profiles then if we're doing that.
Yeah, it's probably a pretty strong point. So why don't we start with Crowe, and we can sort of break that down. We have a great picture of Crowe up there.
He's
He just
so
looks
big.
he just looks like a blimp.
He does. He looks like Kingpin, but
Makes
like
me-
Kingpin's fat cousin.
Makes me feel bad for him.
I don't.
You don't?
No, he was great.
He was fantastic.
He owned it.
The
He was
role
still, and he
wouldn't-
still moved around like
He's
nothing
fine.
was.
He's not like actually huge. He's just like for a leading man, he's just let himself get pretty big.
He's pretty huge, man. Okay, so yeah, so talking about what he was doing, it's true. I mean, he definitely put on weight, like massive weight, because you think about Noah in 2014, he was
Yeah.
not a fat guy.
I didn't see it.
I didn't either, but he
Okay.
wasn't a fat guy.
No.
you
And
know?
then Water Diviner, unless I'm mistaken, is his movie. I believe that's the Australian film that he directed. It
Yep.
won the Australian Oscar, I think.
I don't know about all that, but I do know the first part.
I could be making all that up. The Popcorn Talk did the junket for it. I remember at one point. There's clips of us doing the interviews with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Fathers and Daughters. I recall it coming out, but I don't know much about it.
I don't either. Another one of those like indie dramas, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's like we said, he's at this point in his career. I mean, he broke out in the mid '90s with Hurly Burly, and then Romper Stomper. Sorry, not Hurly Burly. Hurly Burly's a play. Though I think they made a new movie once. But anyway, he broke out and then got his Oscar nod for supporting actor for LA Confidential. Then 2 years later for The Insider, the Michael Mann movie, won for Gladiator, got nominated for Beautiful Mind, and then over those next few years, it was Master and Commander, Cinderella Man, was the
What was the Affleck movie?
oh that's State of Play.
State of Play.
That's like 07.
Yeah.
American Gangster's like 07.
Yep.
Noah's newer. He did Robin Hood in there at some point with Ridley Scott.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
I forgot that movie
Yeah,
even
it was
existed.
real bad.
I mean, he did like a bunch of stuff in there, but somewhere in that like sort of mid to late 2000s range.
Oh yeah,
Body
he was not fat as Kal-El.
Yeah,
either,
Kal-El.
yeah.
Body of Lies, I think.
Yeah,
he was in
that's
that,
another
right?
one. Yep, that's the Leo one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's.
God, Leo and Crowe in a movie, and it just kind of got forgotten about. I heard it wasn't bad though.
I never saw Body of Lies.
Yeah, I didn't either.
He's awesome. Russell Crowe's great.
I love Russell Crowe, and I think this is
Of course you do.
I know, Gladiator, but I think this is exactly what he needed to do in his career. I mean, I don't know about the weight thing because that kind of pigeonholes you. And I'm sure he's disciplined enough to lose the weight if he needed to
Yeah.
be like back into a great role. But this is perfect for him because this shows everybody like I'm Russell Crowe and I can still have fun and I'm
Yeah.
still a good actor and I don't take myself too seriously even if he does.
Right.
It gives off the homage, just like when Cruise did Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, right.
It was like, oh, okay, Cruise can kind of poke fun at himself, you know.
And when you're that rich and your job is to be on screen and he's that big,
Yeah.
all he has to do is be like, all right, doctor, prescribe me some HGH.
Yeah,
here's a
personal trainer,
nutritionist.
6 days a week.
I
Yep.
just won't leave the house.
Cook and clean and do everything for me and work me out.
Yep, and I know exactly how this works because I'll lose all of the weight and I'll get shredded. Like
Yep.
when you're like a famous movie star, pretty much like at any age you can just get shredded.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about how Channing Tatum lives our dream life, essentially.
Yeah, right.
He just does awesome roles, and then when he's not working, he just gets kind of chubby.
Yeah,
he just drinks beer and eats whatever the fuck he wants.
There's great pictures you guys can look up if you ever are curious. Like, you know what we're talking about? Look up like Channing Tatum fat, and you'll see these great pictures of him like on the beach.
Yep.
He's like walking on the beach publicly,
like holding a hoagie.
holding a beer, just like clearly has gained like a solid 10 to 15 pounds.
Yep.
Kind of chubby. Like just puts the weight on. Doesn't seem to give a shit at all.
Of course not. He's Channing Tatum.
And then all of a sudden you'll see, you know, Magic Mike XXL come out, and it's like just jacked.
Shredded beyond belief.
Yeah, and it's just like, this guy is awesome.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I love drinking and eating more than almost anything.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then Gosling, it's interesting because this is kind of what we were talking about, how he's done this a couple times over the last 15 years where he takes little breaks.
Well, yeah, so this is cool, right? Because last week we did Drive, which was so much fun. And we talked about Gosling and his pre-2011. So,
Yeah.
as we said, the big breakout for Gosling is those early 2000s roles. There's a small role in Remember the Titans. There's a Believer that he gets the award nominations for. And then it's 5 years of, like, sort of sifting through some stuff before ultimately Drive is 2011, but 07 is, I think, full Nelson, half Nelson.
Yeah.
Right?
07 and then
06, Lars and the Real Girls.
03. Is 03 the Notebook?
04.
04, yeah, because the Notebook was big for him. It was big for both of them. That was
That's
his
the real breakout.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, but yeah, then, you know, over the next few years, and you have Stupid, Crazy Love and all these movies that are coming out in 2011. So now, like, his last few years where he's really kind of become A-list. Like, he is, it's so weird. This is what we said, and it's odd when you compare these two guys, because in his day, when Russell Crowe was A-list, he was actually
far surpassed. Yeah, because
A-list.
even back then, that was in the 2000s, like the 2000 period. That was still a time when, like, these movie stars were a real thing.
Right,
And
totally.
they still are. Again, we have this conversation almost every single episode. Movie stars are still a real thing, but it's not the same way where you just get Oscar nod after Oscar nod after Oscar nod and film after film after film of just you.
Right.
That's
Well,
it.
Okay, so like, well, let's think about this for a second. Like, what does it really? When we really think about that old version of a movie star, there's a lot of reasons that there are no more movie stars. Like, but what is it really that made those guys, so many of them, that way? And I think it's a combination of a few things. It's box office draw.
Yep.
It's franchises based around them. It's awards nominations. It's consistency. I think it's working with the biggest directors. I think it's stuff like that. And
also the thing that we talk about the most is that movie star charisma. And you can have it in different ways. It doesn't always have to be able to be to deliver comedy, because Crowe never did comedy. I mean, he's dabbled, but he's never done comedy until now.
Right.
Back then, it was just like you were drawn to him because he was as badass. He was like the same way you were drawn to Denzel back in the day.
Completely.
You're
which is
drawn to
why
them because they got this charisma about them that you just want to watch them exist.
Yeah, completely. Just them talking.
Yeah.
I love that Denzel's like, I think Denzel is 60. I think he might be 62 or something. He's starring in Magnificent Seven.
Oh, God. And it looks sweet.
Yeah, like, but like in a hilariously bad way.
Yeah.
But like totally sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we will do it on the show.
Yeah,
and
for
it
sure.
will probably fall into completely ridiculous.
Tangential, by the way, just complete tangent right now. We posted this on our Twitter recently, and if you're listening to this and you were curious, Andrew and I are both on Twitter, and so is the podcast. I'm Ben Bateman Media. He's Andrew at Andrew Ghai.
Yep.
And you can find the podcast at AMA Podcast. I shared the trailer for The Accountant when I first saw it go online.
Oh, yeah.
But we got to see it on the full screen last night, and yesterday when we saw this. And my God, am I excited for The Accountant.
It looks so sweet, and our good friend Gavin O'Connor directed it.
Yeah. I sent him a message yesterday and was like, hey, just wanted to let you know, saw the trailer, looks totally awesome. The Radiohead song is perfection. Andrew and I cannot freaking wait.
No, I can't. It's totally my type of movie.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
And like a total boss, responds immediately and just says, thanks for the love, Kimosabi. I was like, you're just the coolest.
The absolute coolest. Just the greatest guy. If you love Gavin O'Connor and you love what he does, go back and watch the Warrior episode. Again, it's not like our traditional AMA episode. It is really a look into the minds of Anthony Tambakis and Gavin O'Connor, the minds that created Warrior.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Like, it really is. It's both of our favorite episodes, and you'll just understand this guy. He comes from a point of making his films from the heart, not for the money.
I'm actually covering the premiere of The Kingdom, which is a show on DirecTV Audience Network tonight. And Frank Grillo, who plays Frank Campana, very unorthodox trainer.
Very unorthodox.
He's the star of the show. So I'm going to actually I've actually met him once before, but this not in a professional capacity. And I'll actually get to meet him tonight and get an interview with him, which I'm sure I will bring up Frank Campana. Also, Nick Jonas is on the show, so I'll be meeting one of the Jonas Brothers tonight.
So I'll talk to only Frank Campana. Yeah, that's awesome. That'll be so cool. I love Frank Grillo, and he was awesome in Civil War.
Yeah, he's great. He's actually been in a lot of really cool things. He's just good, and he just pops up in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So in any case, that is kind of I am curious when we think about what makes a movie star. I'm just like trying to figure out why, because okay, Leo is fully a movie star,
yeah,
but he also existed and came from a time that the movie stars still did exist. So he was hitting his stride and getting all of his nominations and becoming that guy in the early 2000s when he came back on the scene.
Yeah.
When Gangs of New York has to be like 2002 or something like that.
I believe so.
And Catch Me If You Can's like the same time. So like he started to like hit those movies. Like The Aviator.
That is more like when he was a true movie star. Was that time?
Yeah, right.
You get The Aviator, Catch Me If You Can, Gangs of New York. Like he was just doing movie after movie after movie. Massive directors.
Yeah.
Massive co-stars.
So by now his brand is cemented. But I'm trying to think of other guys. Like Gosling has to be 37 maybe.
Really?
What do you think?
That old?
Maybe younger. Maybe he's like 34. I mean, if he's been acting since 01. Like
Yeah,
if he was a kid
he was
in
young.
Remember the Titans, he was probably at least 20 when that movie got shot.
Right.
And that movie is like 2000 or something, right?
Who do you want us to bring on the show? Gavin O'Connor, because he's already been on it. We will bring him back on for The Accountant, though.
I think he's going to come back on for The Accountant, yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see how old Gosling is. I'm going to guess 36.
Yeah, so you look at that, and just real quick to talk about the movies that he did, it was Gangster Squad in 2013, Only God Forgives in 2013,
He's
and
35.
The Big Short in 2015. So he took about a 2-year break there.
Yeah.
And I think that was good, because when he was doing Gangster Squad and Only God Forgives, he was getting close to that thing. I think that's another thing, is that our audience is so fickle now.
Yeah.
They love to hate things.
Right. If you're a big name and you bomb twice.
Yeah, or even if you don't bomb twice and you just oversaturate the market,
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence, Adele, Ryan Gosling, Tom Hardy, like all these people, Sam Worthington, like you got to be careful.
You remember when Bale did it back in like
Yeah.
right around the time Terminator Salvation
That's when
came
he did
out.
American Gangster, Terminator Salvation, all that stuff.
310 to Yuma.
Yeah.
All those movies came out at the same time, and it just was like, this is just overload.
Just please stop.
yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah. But then he won the Oscar like 2 years later for The Fighter, so.
Right.
Joke's on us.
Joke is on us.
But in any case, so yeah, I was just trying to figure that out. Like, who do we have that's under 40 that's a legitimate A-list movie star? And is that a thing? Is it an age thing? Because the guys that we knew that we grew up watching, they were a movie star when they were under 40. The
Right.
Mel Gibsons, the Bruce Willises, the Nicolas Cages.
They were in their 30s. They were all in their 30s when they
Yeah.
hit their start, like their
so,
A-list.
So Gosling is pretty damn close. I mean, he's
Yeah.
he's about as big at his age as I can think of. I think Leo has to be a solid 10 years older than him.
And I definitely think that Gosling is bigger than Hardy.
Oh yeah, but
Even though Hardy's roles are huge.
But Hardy's so much younger on the scene.
Right.
He really wasn't he wasn't notable until Warrior. Like,
Right.
That's what Anthony said. He was like, nobody had seen Bronson. It was just a thing that he had done. Like by the time,
Yeah, like Anthony hardly knew who he was when he cast him.
yeah, Warrior and Inception were like the two big like visibility projects. I mean, Inception, nobody saw Warrior when it came out, but like
Right.
Inception, everybody saw him. And then now a few years later, Tom Hardy's like the hot ticket.
Yeah.
Mad Max. But like again, we're talking 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not. I mean, you talk about the Pitts and the
Chris Pratt right now is
Yeah.
on one, but again, like you got to think about to be a real movie star, you have to have been doing it for like a decade well, and have like big hits. Like you think about your Afflecks, your Damons, those guys are over 40, man.
Yeah.
They're into their 40s. Like I'm trying to just think who else.
Oscar Isaac is on his way to becoming one. He's nowhere near A-list superstar. He's still on his way up.
He's still in like character actor who wants to be leading man territory.
I didn't see Ex Machina.
Nor did I, but people love that movie.
Yeah.
He gets cast in a lot of cool stuff.
He does. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
We're rambling here.
So yeah, well, let's talk a little bit of production development and Shane Black and just kind of all the people involved in this movie. So this was actually supposed to be a TV show. It was proposed as a TV show.
Right.
They had to retool it as a film after the pilot was just kind of drowning, never seemed to go anywhere. They shot a lot of it in Atlanta.
So much cheaper.
Yeah, some in LA, but Atlanta has great tax breaks, so a lot of it was shot there. A lot of the humor is based on an actual a Marine Corps vet who worked as a PI and then had a relationship eventually with Joel Silver, who's the producer on the film. A lot of his stories actually went into both Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and this movie. So like that's why the movies feel similar in a lot of ways.
Right.
A lot of these things are like real things that happened.
I can see. I mean, maybe that's why it's so funny, is because you're watching it. Nothing ever seems crazy. Nothing ever seems like it couldn't happen. You know what I mean?
Completely. Yeah. I think it's really interesting. So we'll talk about Shane Black right now. So Shane Black, he is widely known as the guy that wrote Lethal Weapon. That's where he starts. You got paid $250,000 from Joel Silver to sell the script for Lethal Weapon. He has a very specific brand in his scripts, Shane Blackisms.
Yeah.
You know, the way that he writes.
The whole time we were watching this movie, I was just like, God, I wish I could see the script, because I bet it's so funny. I bet it's just riddled with these Shane Blackisms and like the way that he says things.
It's probably even funnier in the movie, honestly, especially if you've seen it.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of his whole thing. Like he's a writer, he's a director, he's an actor. I believe he plays Hawkins in
I think he's Hawkins.
Predator.
Yeah.
He's the guy who in Predator is telling the jokes to Billy, and he's like, "Hey Billy, the other day I said to my girlfriend, 'Geez, you got a big pussy. 'Geez, you got a big pussy.'" Because the echo.
Because the echo.
Right. He says the bad jokes. That I think he dies first.
And he probably wrote those jokes.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wait, if he wrote the movie. then-
Probably was just ad-libbing.
Yeah.
No, so he wrote Lethal Weapon. Then, over the years, though, it's like, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he directed. He wrote Long Kiss Goodnight. He is in talks to reboot Predator, and it looks like they're going to start filming. They're going to go into production this fall.
So sweet.
Providing casting works out. He did Iron Man 3. Like, he's just like this guy who, I guess in some ways he's like Favreau now. Where,
yeah, he can cross genre.
And I guess the Iron Man comparison is the reason that comes to mind, but the fact it's like they're both guys who were actors, writers, producers, directors, and they are old enough now. They've been in the genre, into the industry for long enough now.
They can do whatever they want.
That when Favreau directs The Jungle Book, it's like not surprising.
No,
when
and
Shane Black
you're
directs,
not worried about it.
Yeah, when Shane Black directs Iron Man 3, it's like, yeah, sure, cool. Shane Black, sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. Like you're consistent enough, long enough in Hollywood. That's what the money wants. Like, oh, just give it to him. I had nothing to worry about.
Right.
Like,
Shane
that
Black
is what
will
happens.
knock this out of the park. So that's pretty cool. He's got a writing partner named Anthony Bagarozzi. So Anthony Bagarozzi has no credits really prior to The Nice Guys. He's got 4 projects either announced or in development. He's a longtime friend of Shane Black. They've written a lot of stuff together. As far as this one goes, Bagarozzi said, we were really looking for something to work on together. We like a lot of the same books. We went through a period of reading these obscure 70s books and watching a lot of the Rockford Files. We really wanted to do something like that in that vein. So that's what this movie became. They're also working. They also wrote together a Doc Savage movie, which is now, I think, going to production. There's an adaptation of an obscure manga named Death Note that was very popular like 10 years ago. They're writing together.
Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, they're just, they have similar sensibilities. And
Yeah, I mean, like now that these two wrote this movie and I saw it, I don't care.
yeah.
Make it. I'll watch it. Like I'm 100% all in. Real quick, our audience says, isn't Matt Bomer in this film? Bomer?
Yeah.
He's the guy that plays the bad guy, I'm pretty sure. Very good looking guy.
Oh, yes.
He was drafted by the Cowboys out of college, and then he became an actor. I believe that's who you're talking about. He is in the film, and he's actually like
Kind of weird and creepy.
He's weird and creepy. He reminds me of oh God, what's his name? The guy that's the bad guy in like the Charlie's Angel movies. Crispin Glover.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a much better looking Crispin Glover.
He's very handsome. Where is he from? I mean, you said
Louisiana, I think.
But like, I wonder what his what
his background is.
Or like what he's done like at this point.
Right.
You know what I mean? Matt Bomer. You keep talking. I'll look it
Yeah.
up. Talking about Joel Silver.
Yeah. So Joel Silver, action movie producer, legend. Like we've covered him so many times on this show. He's done everything from Top Gun to Die Hard to Lethal Weapons. Like he's done it all.
Yeah.
Joel Silver is the guy that when you see his name come up under the producers list, you're excited about watching this action movie or action movie hybrid. If you want to know anything more about him, just go look him up. Like I said, we've talked about him so many times on this show in all those episodes, Die Hard, Top Gun, and Lethal Weapons. So Joel Silver, complete gangster. Anytime he touches a movie and produces it, it's usually pretty good.
Oh, he's the guy from White Collar on USA. That's what it is.
Is that what it is that you recognize him from?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Every single time, like 100%, no question. That's what it is.
Again, like these two guys, like when because I was moderately excited about this movie. Like I love Ryan Gosling. I love Russell Crowe. I saw Shane Black was directing it. I didn't know that Silver was producing it.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I love those two guys and all the names attached to it. It's got to be a good film, and it is phenomenal.
Joel Silver was bigger in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
He had more success back then with franchises. He has managed to be pretty relevant still, but most recently, like the Sherlock Holmes franchise was his.
Right.
You'll see his name pop up, but it's not with the same consistency that it was in the 80s and 90s. That's just the business nowadays, though. It's more spread out.
Yeah, I like the Sherlock Holmes franchise, but it's nothing like, Top Gun, like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
So this movie is, it's brand new, so the box office isn't a whole lot to talk about. It was produced by Warner Brothers. The budget was $50 million, which seems good. You got to pay the two guys, and the sets are really cool. The party in the Hollywood Hills was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was super awesome.
It was awesome,
I
yeah.
wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And it was originally scheduled to be released on June 17th of 2016, but they moved it forward because of Central Intelligence.
The new The Rock movie with Kevin Hart, which the tagline is a little Hart, a big Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get it. Those guys have so much more mass media appeal in a comedy that I wouldn't want to combat them either, even though this movie's got to be at least 10 times better.
I wonder. I'm very curious about Central Intelligence.
I hate Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
I really do.
He's not your style.
He's not my style. I don't think he's that funny, and I don't want to go in on him because I know so many people love him.
Yeah.
But he's like very like Aziz Ansari to me. Like, they're very loud and they yell a lot and they're not that funny and they think they're hilarious. That's my opinion of Kevin Hart.
I think what it is more is that people think they're hilarious, and that's what's annoying. I'm sure he is funny, and I'm sure if you hung out with Kevin Hart,
Right.
he would crack you the fuck up.
But it's how funny people think he is.
It's the same, it's the same effect as the Will Smith 90s effect. It's like when it's hot, it's hot. People like what it is when it is. And, years later, like, sometimes it doesn't age as well. Chris Tucker's comedy is not funny to people anymore.
No.
It's
borderline offensive.
He does like stand up, but like he's not just. It's a gimmick.
Yeah, it's a gimmick, and I'm tired of it. And you know what, Kevin Hart, Aziz Ansari, more power to you.
Go
Laugh
get that
all the way
money.
to the
Go
bank.
get that money,
get the
man.
money, get the movies. But that aside, I laughed numerous times in the Central Intelligence trailer, and it was one of those laughs like, I don't want to fucking laugh. That's pretty funny though. Like, that's actually
It's just
funny.
because The Rock's involved, and we have a big crush on The Rock.
Yeah, and they're both. I mean, again, it's the same thing that like Twins was supposed to be funny. You have Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger on screen together. It just looks funny when
course.
someone's that small and that large.
Of course, it's just going to be hilarious.
So domestically, it grossed 13.6, worldwide 15.3, and it opened this weekend at $11 million, which is not bad. Hopefully, word of mouth will keep this movie going, and it'll like double its budget because it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame that this movie opened behind Angry Birds, Captain America in its third weekend,
Which I completely understand that one.
Neighbors 2.
That's whatever.
I mean, like, it's not like Neighbors 2 isn't going to be funny, or that like the Angry Birds movie won't be like funny, but it's just like this movie is just so much more unique than those movies.
I think not a lot of people know what this movie is. Like you guys saying,
absolutely.
going in, is it a comedy? Is it an action movie? And they're like, well, my kids want to see Angry Birds. I want to see Civil War for the X amount of time. And Neighbors 1 was pretty good. And then that makes sense why it's number 4.
Neighbors 2 looks real funny.
It does, and I know, like, our buddy Matt, who we've talked about numerous times on the show, he was on the Air Force One episode. He worked on it. He loved it. He said it was hilarious, and that Seth is an awesome guy, and Efron's hilarious. Like, it's gonna be good. It's not gonna be as good as this movie. That'll be like kind of like a dumb throwaway comedy.
Yeah.
This movie, for me, is gonna be in my top like 25 favorite movies, probably.
I mean, yeah, Kiss Kiss I watched a lot of times. Like, I watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang around the time it came out, like, probably a solid, like, half dozen times.
Right.
It was one of those movies I just put on in the background a lot. It's just, like, funny.
Yeah.
And this movie is better. It's funnier.
This is gonna be one of those movies that when it comes out to buy on DVD, which I love to buy my DVDs.
You still do.
I still do. I had to. I'm moving right now, and I had to move my box of DVDs over. That thing weighs like 100 pounds. It is obscenely heavy.
How many DVDs do you think you have?
I mean, I was actually sitting there thinking yesterday, like, if I were to weigh them, and I'd be like, weigh one, and then weigh the box, and then weigh the whole box together and figure out how many are in there using some simple math.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that, but there's got to be like a few hundred in there.
Sure.
Because it was way too heavy.
Right.
I was like sweating profusely, which
I
do anyway.
I had a smaller collection of DVDs at one point, like in Seattle before I moved, and then I liquidated that, and then I moved it down. Now I only have like 40 DVDs left.
Right.
I probably used to have like 200 or 150 maybe. But
you have that thing now when you look at your DVDs,
Yeah.
it's like all gold.
These are the only movies that I have left.
You
are
like
the
look
ones
at me
that I
like,
want.
oh, that's a good one. That's like every single one of them is good. You look at mine and I have to like defend why I own a few of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was the period of time when I was moving, and I gave you like 20 of them.
Yeah, like I didn't like half of them.
Yeah.
but I wanted all of them.
Yeah, right. Add the numbers.
I had to add to them. Okay, so critically, this movie has got an 8.0 on IMDb. I hope it stays there. Hopefully, it'll maybe go up. We'll see.
Yeah, but the Rotten Tomatoes scores are the opposite of our normal score.
It is.
So normally when we do a Rotten Tomatoes score, what it is that the all critic is medium, top critic is the lowest, and audience is the highest. And it'll be crazy disparities. Like top critics will give some things like 36%, and our audience will give it like an 89%.
Yeah. Man on Fire is a great example of that.
Yeah, but in this case, it's 90, 86, 84. So the audience gave this the lowest rating of all.
Which I don't get why, and I don't want to get into it because I'll probably just get upset.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
I really don't understand it either. I mean, maybe it could be that it's just like I haven't talked to many females that have seen this movie.
Right.
One commented on a post that I made, and she said the only thing I liked about this were the boobs, and I'm not talking about the co-stars. So I don't know how this movie comes off to guys and girls differently. Like it's definitely more of a bro comedy, I'm sure. Like but at the end of the day, there's so many moments in that are hilarious that have nothing to do with dick jokes or like, you know what I mean? Like it's not a total bro comedy. It's not totally Shane Black.
Well, our friend Roxy saw it, and she was like, I guess guest on the show, longtime friend of the show, and she was like, "I loved it. You guys will adore this movie." She was like, "I really liked it. I think you guys are gonna fucking love this movie."
Right.
So I think it's it is more of a it's very much our movie.
Yeah, it's true.
It's very much our movie.
So Rafir Guzman of Newsday gave this a rotten review, and he said, Crowe and Gosling are fine, but they never form a genuine rapport. These actors are known for intensity and screen hogging, not warmth and comedic timing. And here they seem to be moving in parallel, but not fully in sync.
I don't understand what movie you were watching.
I don't either.
Yeah.
They're so... Please pull that up. I want the audience to see that now.
It's his reaction to the review.
He's offended greatly, and he should be. I don't know what movie he's watching either, because the comedic timing and the relationship between the two of them, like, there's never, like, much warmth, but you buy it. You buy into it that the two of them are buddies and that they trust each other. And like the very end, where, Gosling gets his new poster because he has a poster for himself. He gets new one. It's called The Nice Guys, and he holds it up because they become partners. In the end, he's like, "I got us a new poster. It's pretty cool."
I'm sorry you look Filipino.
I'm sorry you look Filipino. It's just, and there's nothing more to it. But it's again the delivery, the comedic timing. It's
brilliant.
Reefer Guzman is perfect.
Yeah. So Bruce Kirkland of the Toronto Sun says it creates great on-screen chemistry between Gosling and Crowe as brute adversaries who partner up as private eyes to solve a criminal conspiracy, and it blows your mind with its sense of absurdity, even while making the crime caper count. Here's the thing. They kill like 40 people in this movie. People just get shot through windows. They just die, and they never ever answer the question of what happened or why are these two private eyes not just locked up and being questioned all the time.
I can think of two people that died that they're literally. Or I guess we could talk about the producer as well, but two people that had nothing to do with the movie at all. There's a chick in the beginning when Crowe's apartment is getting ransacked, and like they go to shoot Crowe and he ducks, and they just kill the lady next to her. She gets shot.
She gets shot.
And then there's a guy at the party who's wearing stilts, like just walking around. And like out of nowhere, he just comes up and just gets shot in the chest and dies when Crowe's like having another altercation.
There's also like the thugs falling from the top of the building when they're in the elevator.
Yeah, just never splatting, never
answered. I loved the scene when they're in the car and Gosling's driving and he's like, fall asleep at the wheel here. He's like, can't do that. He's like, don't worry, I got this.
Yeah,
and
these cars drive themselves. Oh, I didn't know that.
All these cars do that. He's like, he's got the ankle holster. He's like, what's that? It's an ankle holster. Sweet, right? He's like, yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a bee in the back smoking a cigarette with him. That's when you're like, oh shit, we're definitely asleep.
But then when they're held up by the sassy chick. What's her name?
I can't remember her name, but like 10, 15 minutes later in the film,
and Gosling starts going for the gun on Crowe's like, what the fuck are you doing?
What are you doing? He's like, get it. He's like, what are you talking about?
Shit, did I dream that?
You dreamed that now.
It's the worst. It's the worst yet.
Or when he's like, tell me the story, Jack. He's like, I don't want to tell you. He's like, tell me the story. And then he starts telling the story. This is the best story I've ever heard. He's like just getting into it. And he
falls
tells like
asleep.
this is the only moment of vulnerability that Russell Crowe has in the whole movie, and Gosling immediately passes out.
One of my favorite moment in that scene is Crowe gets up, takes the bullet in the bicep, like knocks the guy down, and then just starts like butt of the gun, just beating him brutally
like, to death.
Yeah, this movie is fucking great. All right,
man.
so speaking of favorite lines and favorite parts of the movie, let's get into and favorite line. So there are so many, and it's tough to have seen it once in theaters because I honestly want to be able to reference like 5.
I know, me too.
But there's this fantastic scene when they're trying to find the house that the porno that they're looking for, this porn film, and this kid rides up on a bike, and they're like, "Hey, kid, you know anything about the people that live here?" And he's just like, "Maybe." What? And they're like, "He'd give him $20." He's like, "Yeah, I know the people that lived here. I came up, I talked to him. Asked them if they wanted to see my dick.
I got a big dick.
Because I got a big dick." They said they didn't want to.
It's like, you guys want to see my dick? No.
No. Give me $20, I'll show you my dick. Well, you just gave me $20. He's like, what am I saying? It's so fucking good.
Yeah, I have that written down. You want to see my dick? One of them is like in the very beginning. They're like watching one of those 70s instructional pool videos. Like, what you should bring at your day at the pool. And it's like Billy's towel is white. Adjective. Jeannie's towel is bright. Adjective. And then it shows Jonathan's towel. It's a rainbow towel. Jonathan's towel is gay. And then the whole class starts laughing. It was so good.
When you texted me last night, Jonathan's towel is gay. I thought you were making a reference to our friend Jonathan Carmichael. I didn't know what the
You like get on
reference was.
Facebook, you're like looking for a picture of a towel.
I was like, there must have been something that happened, but you just recorded the movie.
Yeah. And then my other one is at the very end. I mean, when he's drunk at the party and he's trying to tell people it's great, but I can't remember what it is. It's at the very end when they're sitting there at the bar, and Crowe is like drunk and also, you know, as always, disheveled and fat.
Right.
And they're talking. Gosling's like, well, at least you started drinking again.
Yeah, at least you're
That's
drinking
good.
again.
And Crowe's like, I feel great. And he just looks like complete shit.
He's got the full bottle of Captain Morgan. He's just drinking. It's just so good.
Yeah, those are my favorite lines.
I also love the moment when like he's like, all right, I'll go do it myself. And Gosling's like, well, if you had read the tag correctly, you would have known that it was this, and it's actually not flight, but it's a flat. The buildings exist, and I know exactly where they are. You know what? I'll take you to them. And it's like totally redeemable. They just get there's like the building's been torn down.
It's been torn down for 2 years. It's been torn.
Just dead wrong.
It's like right after his like they decide he's the worst detective ever, and his daughter yells, "I hate you," and he's like he has this moment of brilliant zen. And then, yeah, he's just wrong.
Oh, God. Just so good. When he's drunk at the party and he falls off the balcony.
Yeah, he's like, shoot at me. Bang. He like dodges it.
The reason that we don't do comedies on this show or any show is because it's just a loose retelling of the best jokes.
Right, and we don't tell him as good.
You're just doing a less good version of the movie, which is why action movies are so great, because it's not supposed to be jokes.
Right.
So if we do impressions, it's great. This movie's an exception. I hope that if you watched it, you're watching this and laughing with us, and it makes you want to watch the movie again. But if you haven't seen the movie, just go see it, because it's fucking great.
It's phenomenal.
All right, let's talk about hero villain ranking, movie ranking. This is a little weird. I took your lead on this one, Drew. So you joined the two characters together.
I did, because I think that these guys, although they're great alone for their own comedic reasons and like because the movie's great, they're not actually either one of them's not a good hero on their own.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the same thing as like, you know, with Mason and Goodspeed, or it's the same as Riggs and Murtaugh.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, so you have to decide, is it one of those situations? To me, neither of these guys would even begin to chart if it wasn't for one another.
Exactly.
Whereas like Riggs could still chart.
For sure. And so can Murtaugh. Yeah, that's why I decided to combine them.
But yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So it looks like we have them in similar-ish places.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're both. They're beating Charles Morse for some reason.
No. Charles Morse should have been. Oh no. Yeah, that's right. Morse would have been just behind. That makes sense.
I know it's crazy, but
I don't feel so well, Charles.
say it again, Bob.
I don't feel quite 100%, Charles.
Today we're gonna kill the motherfucker.
Go watch the Edge episode.
Go watch the Edge episode, and we'll fix the rankings right now. I have the combo at 32, and Ben's got them at 27, which is good because it's really hard to put them in front of people like Joe from Looper for me, or like the Bannings, or you know, especially the guys in the top 10 are like complete different conversation.
It's funny, like, how is Brian Mills so low on my list? But I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I think I have them in front of him too. It's because like there's just something awesome about them.
Yeah, I mean, you start to get the guys, Casey Ryback, Creasy, Ethan Hunt.
Creasy, you have him in front of Creasy, huh? Do I too? Do I as well?
No, I have Creasy ahead of these guys.
Okay, yeah.
Creasy's 2 spots ahead of these guys. All right, so that's where we are going to rank these guys. If you guys don't know our top heroes, you can go. Where can they find a full list?
I don't know. We got to make one for them to see.
We should probably like
just post them.
Maybe on our Twitter we should pin it to the top, at least the movie rankings list, the full list.
You can check it out. All right, yeah, we'll work on that for you guys. Movie rankings was what we're doing next, and mine is way ahead of yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough. As much as I loved this movie, and
I know.
and this movie may grow for me, but like,
It doesn't
really. I put this movie that low.
Yeah. You put it at 28 or 29, and then when
29.
I adjusted Drive-In, it moved it down to 29.
God, that's crazy. I put Drive really high, but
Yeah. 15.
Yeah, I obviously the Edge I like more than this movie. It's always so hard though when you see a brand new movie to actually get
Yeah, because you're riding that high of watching it.
Yeah, like I do actually like this movie more than The Town. So that's weird.
But it's like such a different type
Yeah,
of movie. Yeah,
yeah.
I had that same problem doing mine, but then I was sitting there thinking, and we always talk about this, it's all about greatness versus rewatchability and fitting our show. This movie will probably move in the future, but as of right now, I want to watch this movie again so badly, but I couldn't justify putting it in front of Terminator 2.
Yeah, well,
Just couldn't.
That to me, yeah, I'm glad you made that decision because there would be like you can't. That's like impossible to defend.
Yeah, well, because they're just two different movies.
And this is an action movie show, and
Yeah.
you'd like offend everyone in our
Exactly,
audience.
which
if
is
you
why,
did.
I mean, I'm sure I'm going to offend them anyway because it's still in front of a lot of great movies, but go watch it.
You
okay?
put
Just-
Drive very high. Drive went to 10 for you.
I
Drive,
love Drive.
but you can only see that on yours because yours is so high here. My
Yeah.
Drive, I think, is like 15,
15.
maybe.
Yeah.
So it's pretty high still. I loved Drive. That movie
so
blew my
good.
mind when we watched
Yeah.
it again. Excellent. Let's do a little recast. We decided this time for recast. Most of the B characters in this movie are not actually characters we would want to recast. Kim
Yeah.
Basinger, the girl who plays Amelia, the daughter. Like, it's not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just that for our purposes, it's not as entertaining because this movie really is just about the two guys.
Yep.
So we're going back to an 80s, 90s recast. Two guys that could do this movie. This movie were made in the 80s or 90s. Let's start with the Gosling role.
Yeah, and again, guys, since this is just a two-person recast, I've got the live chat open. Throw yours up there. I want to check them out. They're always entertaining. They're sometimes better than ours, better than Ben's. So we'll start with Gosling. And who's your Gosling? 1990s, 80s Gosling?
I went like 1991 Val Kilmer.
Okay.
I think Kilmer is good at he can make fun of himself.
You definitely can.
And I feel like he could very much fit the role that Gosling played.
I wonder if he could make fun of himself back then, but the way he makes fun of himself now, he's got to have been able to
Yeah,
do
exactly.
it back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, yeah, because I mean, Top Secret and Real Genius were all early.
That's
so
true.
He
Yeah.
knew comedy.
I went with same time, maybe a couple years later, Ed Norton.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Top of his game. Had done only dramas, but we've seen him like make fun of himself. He's so good,
That seems like a good casting choice.
and and with the juxtaposition of size with my Healy, who I cast.
You chose a mammoth.
I chose a large man, which is funny because someone else had talked about him earlier in the chat. I chose Mr. John Goodman.
Yes,
So I got John Goodman and Ed Norton.
modern era John Goodman. I'm assuming where he's just very big.
I mean, he was so good in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I didn't see it.
He was so good in it. He was like, it seemed like he was like on the spectrum a little
Yeah.
bit. Like he was just a little off and like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, even back then, John Goodman was still massive. But if it could be now John Goodman, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, incredible. I went with James Gandolfini.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony Soprano. My only issue with that is that he doesn't have the leading man who is disheveled charisma.
Right.
But I know I've seen Gandolfini do so many good things that if he dressed up for this part and did the 70s thing and like he's good at just being like dirty.
Yeah.
The other character that I think would be really funny but I'd want him to get a bit fatter is Louis C.K. I think Louis C.K.
Oh, man. If you did it with like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Louis C.K. right now,
Yeah.
with like a fat Louis C.K.
Yeah.
God, that'd be great.
How good would Louis C.K. have been in that role?
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
Crow is okay. Those are
Yeah,
good. Those
yeah.
are both great. Kilmer and Cruz, like now Kilmer and Cruz.
You like
that's pretty-
MacGruber Kilmer.
Yeah, that's pretty good. MacGruber, Kilmer, and Cruz. Now I love that.
That is funny, actually.
I mean, I don't know how you guys know. Like, Val Kilmer in MacGruber as Dieter von Kunt is one of the greatest roles of all time.
One of the great villains. It's one of your all-time favorites.
It really is. Like,
Ever.
it would probably be my third one since I don't have one.
We will at some point. There was a time period where we really did truly think Will Forte was going to come on and do MacGruber with us.
I mean, we still see him. He's just so busy.
Yeah. We may still get him. We don't know. But we may just jump the boat and just do the movie ourselves.
Do it because that movie's so good.
Yeah, like it's just that movie's just hilarious.
When's Brockman visiting again?
Yeah, next time for Liquor League Draft.
If we can't get Forte on by the time that Max Brockman comes and visits us, we will bring him on the show for MacGruber.
Yeah, that's what we should really do.
We should just not give him
Max
a mic.
Gruber should do.
Don't give him a microphone.
No, he'll be here for Liquor League Draft. That'll be in September.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So.
All right, so that's our recast, guys. You're more than welcome to get at our Twitters or the live chat, #MasteryCaster. Let us know whether you liked my combination of John Goodman and Edward Norton or Ben's combination of those two people that you just picked, Val Kilmer and James Gandolfini.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Gangster.
You are greatly missed.
At AMA Podcast, #MasteryCaster. Let's move on to...
Which of the categories? I mean, that's a weird one because it's a comedy, so I don't really feel like it's justifiable to, like...
Right.
There's 3 action movie categories. There's totally ridiculous, totally legitimate, ridiculously legitimate. They are what they sound like. Totally legitimate are movies like Terminator 2 and Die Hard. Totally ridiculous are movies like Con Air and Face Off. And ridiculously legitimate's the middle category. That's like
The
Point
Rock,
Break,
Predator,
Speed, The
yeah.
Rock, Predator. This movie, I think, is just totally legitimate because it's... You laugh when you're supposed to laugh.
Right.
It's well cut, well written, tightly scripted, well acted, holds together. I would feel stupid calling this. I guess you could call it ridiculously legitimate because it is an absurd movie.
I think that's where I'm going to put it for me because of what we talked about on the show. And it's just like how many people get shot and killed and no one's ever talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, but it's so tough with movies like this because it is completely self-aware and it executes on all levels perfectly.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say that's pretty fair, pretty easy. So we have one last thing to do, guys, and this is something that we haven't done in a couple weeks, but we are going to do it right now, and it's something called The Pitch. So what this is, guys, is we're looking to pitch you the movies that we are going to do next week, and rather than each of us pitch one, I think we're just going to throw them out there because they're kind of the same.
They're both great, and the reason for this is because if you did go and see this movie this weekend, or you saw Captain America: Civil War last weekend, or you've been to the movies at all recently, you've seen the new Jason Bourne trailer.
Bourne 5.
Oh my god, it's so sweet.
So we've only ever done Bourne 1 and then the Jeremy Renner Bourne 4 on this show.
Right.
But we skipped 2 and 3. And 3 is traditionally the fan favorite.
3 is his favorite, 2 is my favorite.
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that's perfect. So you're
Yeah.
pitching 2 and I'm pitching 3.
Absolutely.
Do you want to pitch why you think 2 is so sweet?
Sure. I do, because so I love that right away it's the two of them on the island and you're like, all right, here we go, whatever. She gets killed right away.
Immediately.
Like a gnarly headshot to the back of the head from Carl Urban. And like, you know how I am about revenge films, man.
yeah.
It's like Jason Bourne 2.0, another sweet car chase. Instead of using a pen this time, he uses a magazine to fuck somebody up.
That's right.
And he's on a mission against Pam Landy.
I haven't seen this one in a long time. I've seen 1 a lot of times.
The
and
car
I've seen
chase
3
with
a lot of
Carl
times.
Urban when he dies is so sweet.
This is definitely one I've seen the least. So the thing is, we're going to cover both of these movies. We won't do them back-to-back weeks, but Bourne comes out in July, like end of July. So we will be doing that movie when it comes out, and we'll be covering these 2 movies between now and then. So one of them will be next week. I'm going to pitch Bourne Ultimatum, which is Bourne 3. This has always been my favorite. I feel it's the most tightly scripted. The action is amazing. It involves like sort of corporate espionage.
It's the highest ranked film.
Yeah, like this, like the whole like CIA, Blackbriar, all that stuff. It combines everything I like about the Bourne movies, and he's just the most aware, the slickest. He's not having like he remembers everything.
Right.
I just always that scene at the train station at the beginning I always loved.
Really sweet.
I love this movie. I do think the best Bourne movie is actually Bourne 1.
Yeah, I mean, like even though this one's the highest rated, I believe.
Yeah.
Bourne 1 it's a perfect film.
Yeah,
It
and
really
when
is.
we watched Bourne 1 again, when we did it on the show, speaking actually, friend of the show, Roxy Stryer, who did that episode with us, but when we did that movie on this show, it was a real reminder to me that movie was so special and so iconic, and it had been had really been such a, I don't know,
It was like the Mission Impossible that you wanted that you didn't get yet.
yeah,
Because there was only Mission Impossible 1 and 2 when the first one came out, right? Or would 2 not even come out yet?
I think
they
had already come out.
Yeah, and you didn't get 3 yet.
No.
You just had 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And like Mission Impossible 1 and 2 were sweet, But this was like an actually great movie.
And they hadn't rebooted James Bond yet. You were
No,
still dealing
you
with
were
the bad,
yeah.
all the bad.
You were on the tail end of Pierce Brosnan's run.
I wonder if Roxy actually wants to come on and do the Bourne movie.
We'll figure that out later. I'm gonna do it right now.
Done. All right, guys, that is what we're pitching: Bourne Ultimatum and Bourne Supremacy. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for checking in on the show.
Adios.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.